Welcome to episode 35 of Out of Bounds, a podcast where I give my social commentary on different topics in today's society. I'm your host, Terry, and today giving a little male empowerment. And I want to say that your gender does not make you a threat. And I mean that. I believe that most of us, especially with so much access in the internet, have heard this saying so much, or heard stories and narratives that paint all men as a problem or as a potential criminal. And it's funny to me that as a person that's African American, you hear this conversation a whole lot about young African American males and talking about the idea of putting them in schools with metal detectors reinforces this idea that they should go to prison, or that they're going to end up in prison, I should say. And the narratives and the media all, paint African American males as convicts and all these different things. And so they say that even though a person could have a completely normal life, just that different narrative can sometimes internalize inside of a person and make it manifest. And so there's all this talk about making sure that we aren't sending that message to the children. And so it's funny to me on the flip side that people don't care about that at all as males, as adult males. And so we hear these narratives with no type of nuance, no type of context, where it makes it come off as all men are bad or all men are a problem. And that's what a lot of people have an issue with feminism, because there's a lot of people that come off anti-male, whether they mean to or not. And then there are people who are anti-male, who are part of the feminist movement. And if you come into contact with them, that's your only exposure. And then, of course, you're not going to like feminism, but that's a whole nother story. The point being is that understand that we know these things happen, atrocities all across the board, but specifically talking about sexual assault, we're talking about rape, we're talking about the just the harassment, the indecent exposure, the proposition, and all these different things, people being robbed at night. They talk so much about women being afraid to walk at night at certain places that's not well lit, or having to walk a woman to her car or to her door, women having pepper spray, self-defense classes, men are just scientifically bigger, and all these different things. And so that does come to a point where, whether you admit it or not, I do believe all men have went through that. And it really doesn't matter the sexual orientation, doesn't matter how masculine or how feminine you are, doesn't matter how big or threatening or small you are. You kind of feel that narrative as you continue to hear it. Well, is it something that is innate in being a male that makes me that way? And then we could talk about hormones, testosterone, being aggressive and all that. But still, there's nothing that makes us automatically a threat. That doesn't make us automatically a problem or issue. Even if you are scientifically going to be stronger and bigger, if you are a big guy or whatever, that doesn't automatically make who your character is. And so there are things that are objective. There's science. That's what we're born with. There's genes and all that. But then there's personality and character that is constructed through society, but also constructed through our own individual processes. And I think that as a man, sometimes you could get lost in a lot of different things. And we'll talk hopefully more in male empowerment about the different pressures of the gender role and all that. But overall, you can get lost in hearing so much of this and wonder if there's something wrong with you. And I'll speak from my personal experience. I mean, I am African American. I am male, and I am a bigger dude. I've always been big. I'm just big. I mean, I'm not like an NFL player size, but I'm a big dude, big wide dude. And so I always call that the big black dude syndrome. And so there is the aspect of culture. But even if you are European, even if you are Latino, even if you are African, whatever, have you Asian, anything, you being male alone makes you more of a threat in a lot of people's eyes in the way the media talks. And so there are times that even though I know what I bring to the table, I know how I am, I know I would never hurt somebody like that, or I've never robbed somebody. I know that I'm, walking around with my headphones, probably playing Katy Perry or something, but that's not what people see when they see me. And so I could just be minding my business and somebody's, worried about me being around them. And sometimes that does make you wonder, and it is a function too with being African American, where you hear that narrative as well. But I think males get it too, where it's like, am I a problem? Or not that I'm gonna wake up and I can't control myself, but would I be in a situation where my emotions get high and now I'm looked at as a threat, or that I might, be out of hand and make a mistake, but I'm looked at as just, oh, you're just an evil person. You're a man. You're trying to dominate. You're trying to take over. That's just what you were always going to do. And so then it feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's like I could go 25 years and never have an issue, and then I have one issue, and it was like, it was just a matter of time because he's a man. We told you. And women make mistakes. Females make mistakes. We all know that. But what the narrative is in society is that's just like men are ticking time bombs. And it's worse when you're a brown male. It's worse when you're a black male. It's just like we're ticking time bombs. We're so horny and we're so aggressive and competitive that eventually we're going to do something bad. And women just don't have that. And again, no one explicitly says this. And maybe it is just me, but I feel like as men, we grow up thinking about these different things that a man is supposed to be and characteristics of a masculine man. And then we think about the characteristics of women, and it makes it seem like, we're not as smart, we're not as caring, we're all, just competition, and that we're eventually going to hurt somebody, or that we're going to not care about somebody enough. And for some people, it'll end up being true, but that's for more reasons than being a man. The reasons that somebody ends up raping somebody, or that somebody doesn't become a good father, or that somebody's robbing people, it has very little to do with you being a man. But we're human. We see these stories, we see these videos, and it's like, man, we keep seeing males do this. And so you start to think, is it something wrong with males? Is it something that's wrong with males that's also wrong with me? And of course, as you mature, as you explore yourself, you get confidence in yourself, you understand yourself, it gets less and less. Like I could see that stuff all day, and it isn't going to move my opinion about myself too far. But I'd be lying if I said it doesn't move my opinion sometimes, or a little bit, where I'm just looking at this stuff and I'm just like, and I'm listening, especially these stories, like whatever with, the videos that, people are talking about it, like in the media. But when you hear testimonies, when you hear what people go through, it's terrible, but we got to compartmentalize. We got to be able to separate that person as an individual, as an attacker, and what, we are as a male. Yeah, we share that gender, but that doesn't automatically mean we're in the same category. And so, it's a conversation I don't think most men would want to talk about or think they can talk about. But I just want to say, as some empowerment and some encouragement, I understand. I mean, you don't have to comment and say, yeah, me too. But if it is in your heart, sometimes I do think about it like, man, and it's hormones. I get it. Our testosterone is crazy. I understand. It does make you a little aggressive sometimes in certain areas, but understanding that it's natural to think like, okay, what about my gender? What biologically makes my mind act this way? Or maybe you're worried that, oh, maybe I could end up like that. Maybe I'm one bad day away from being like that. Maybe I'm one bad situation from acting like that. And so it's just continuing to recognize those feelings, to trace it back to its root and understand why you feel that way. And then put yourself in people's shoes and try to understand why someone could get to that point. And that's the problem. It's just like we look at it on the outside. It's like that dude raped her. He's a terrible human being. Kill him. And no one talks about why. Not to justify, because everyone's so scared. Oh, you're going to justify a rape? I'm not trying to justify it, but I'm trying to understand what his approach was, what his mindset was. And then I could relate that to my life. Okay, maybe XYZ happened to him. And in those similar situations, what would I do? How would that affect me? Because we're going to all be affected differently. But just being able to play through those scenarios and to think through, like what you would do and how your life and your personality would be affected. That kind of helps you be prepared when you get to those situations. So if you at all ever felt like, man, are we men? Are we as males just, are we really a problem because the statistics are so heavily skewed towards us? If you ever felt worried about that, you're not alone, man. It's okay. And I will say 100% definitive. Being a male, being a man does not make you a threat automatically. And so that's all I got for today. But go down comment section, let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and until next episode.